because we had a meeting last week, and that meeting went long and then ended abruptly, which was a shock. It was a very big shock.
A motion to continue the meeting.
I'll make a motion to continue the meeting.
Okay, we have a motion. I'll second that motion.
Now, wait a second. I want to get this done today.
All right, we're gonna put an end to the meeting right now. Okay, that's it. You guys are being very disrespectful of this process. You guys are all mature adults.
So previous to that, myself and our legal counsel, Mark, had been meeting with Commissioner Barnett and his legal counsel with the county. We'd had, I believe, 4 meetings over the course of May, June, and July, and were able to come to an accord, an agreement that the library would pay more for staying in the building and do more for the facility, and the county would continue to partner with the $1 a year lease. And one of the terms that we did discuss was, in the previous lease, there was a convenience clause, which meant that either party could terminate for convenience. And that's the stipulation that they used to terminate that lease early and without any kind of collaboration with the library. So we really wanted assurances that that wouldn't happen again, especially because there had been so much discussion, even with Commissioner Barnett, about public health department moving into the current facility, the library building. And during the negotiation, the move was taken off the table. And we were happy about that because it's just so much uncertainty around if they're going to sell that property and move their public health department. So Commissioner Barnett made that concession that we wouldn't have a convenience clause. And it's very uncommon to have a convenience clause like that in a lease. I was disappointed that I even let it get that far to have it. It was that whole lease was a holdover from the nonprofit that had run the library for 10 years. The county just extended it by amendment and transferred it over to the district. So essentially we inherited the nonprofit's lease, and that convenience clause was in there. So now that's gone, which means they cannot terminate our lease for 5 years. So it's $1 a year for 5 years with no opportunity for termination, except for some egregious act, like, I don't know, building a swimming pool and a slide in the middle of the library, or having a huge shindig. I'm not sure. But we won't be doing that. We'll just be doing the same activities. So that felt like compromise, and you kind of expect compromise to come out of a negotiation. And I think Commissioner Barnett did a good job of communicating and finding compromise and finding a way for what he likes to say, which is a win-win. For the library and for the county, I would say the win is really for the community, because we want to be able to continue to provide service. Like, my North Star is to continue to provide essential services for the community that's demanding them, and not allow this negotiation or what I would refer to as kind of antics, poor procedure, irresponsible scheduling, all of that to disrupt service. That's kind of my approach over these negotiations. And I think Commissioner Barnett had the same idea in mind. At least that's what I gathered from the negotiations. They were very cordial, and also, I think, firm on both sides of what were non-negotiables. And I do appreciate that the commissioners assigned at least one of them to have negotiations. I do hope that they value, as a whole, the work that came out of those 4 meetings. It was time-consuming. Keegan, it was very time-consuming, because we would have a meeting and then we'd have to wait 2 weeks for the next one, or we'd have to wait for the fair to be over, and so it stretched out for 3 months of these negotiations. Now we're at the end. 8 months into our lease having been terminated with no final notice sent, because in the lease it says you have to send a final notice of termination, and they just didn't do that part, which I'm also grateful for. So I think that kind of brings us up to today, where we waited. Commissioner Barnett was to present the lease. The county wanted to be the first one to sort of unveil the new lease. So they had posted it 48 hours prior to last week's meeting, and then the community could read it. And I think they'd been waiting a long time to see what the fruits of the negotiation were. And I think in general, the business community, moderates on both sides of the political spectrum, and library supporters and county supporters were pretty pleased with the compromise that came out of it.
During the commissioners' meeting, library supporters will be meeting out on the steps in front of the Ann Basker Auditorium. At the last meeting, Commissioner Blech decided to shut down the meeting because, according to him, the idea of people applauding finally getting to vote was disrespectful. We're concerned that Commissioner Blech will take any excuse to shut down the meeting, even the slightest murmur or response. That's our fear, and we want this to go through. We want this lease to pass, this vote to pass. And so we thought, well, we still want us to show our support, so we'll just do it outside, and rather be loud outside than shushed inside.
Yeah, I know, I can imagine, yeah.
And now to hear we don't even have the vote.
Sign the lease! Oh, sorry, I'm so Vote for the lease! Vote for the lease! One last shot at it.
That'll convince him right there.
Right there. I mean, I'm sure walking in, he was like, I don't know, but she wants me to, so yeah, I got it.
All right, good morning, everybody. Today's Thursday, August the 21st, 2025. It is 10 a.m., and this is the Josephine County Board of Commissioners today convening for our weekly business session.
The board chair is Andreas Blech. He has been trying to take a role of leadership that looks at all sides. I'll say it that way. Chris Barnett is the second commissioner, and he is very involved in the community. But Chris also said back in March, I have a phone, I don't need to go to the library.
In your life, what impact have libraries had on you? Do you still use libraries? Do you find them to be a valuable resource? What are your just thoughts on libraries as an institution?
Well, as a kid, remember this is going back some years ago, I'm not that old, but growing up, that's what we had until you came out with these. Cell phones, tablets, the internet, the computer age. Back in the day, we all had to use library. Library in school, this library over here, but I have not used a library in probably 15 years.
You go on Amazon, you can get books, read the book, and send the book back. Everything's digital now. Everything's, we change with the times.
So I've been really focused on letting him understand what is going on at the library. Ron Smith is the third commissioner, and he's very community-oriented and I think wants to do the right thing for the community. Blech has stated publicly at least twice that he did not intend to have the vote on the 14th, that he always felt that it was going to be on the 21st. And so I think he was kind of guiding the meeting to that. The fact that he had a separate public hearing separate from the regular commissioners' meeting on Thursday indicated to me that he was getting a lot of feedback from the public, and he wanted to hear that and get it on public record.
Thank you. All right, at this time, no. If we're going to go down that road, I'll shut this meeting down right now, and I don't want to do that. Please don't force my hand. At this time, if you want to show your enthusiasm in a courteous and constructive way, I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to speak. As I said earlier, we will not abide by the 3 minutes. If you feel like you need 4, you're more than welcome to use all 4 minutes. So at this time, who would like to speak this morning in the back row?
I'm not sure what his thoughts were at the end of that meeting, because I was surprised that it did feel like we were going to a vote last Thursday. And then when the public erupted at the end of the meeting and he just closed it down, I think that surprised everybody.
I want to get this done today.
right, we're gonna put an end to the meeting right now. Okay, that's it. You guys are being very disrespectful of this process. You guys are all mature adults. Okay, that's it. This meeting is now adjourned. It is 12:36. Thank you.
I don't know why he did that, and it surprised the other two commissioners as well, and I think upset them. They wanted to get this over with. It had been going on for so long, they were ready to finish it. Mm-hmm. Disappointing.
The community members commenting were given additional time by the chair. Normally it's 3 minutes, and he said, take 4, take as many minutes as you want. And then the meeting went on. Now, I have to say, the comments were lovely. They were heartening. I learned things about our library from listening to the comments, especially from one of our volunteers or our intern teens was there, and she's just so brilliant.
Hi, Mary Wells, Grants Pass. I wanted to thank the commissioners for the opportunity to speak. I wanted to thank Chris Barnett. You've been involved with this from the beginning, and your open-mindedness has been just excellent to watch, especially in a moment in time when politics are very often polarized. I've appreciated your open-mindedness. So I learned how to register to vote at the library through a program they ran about 3 years ago. When I got my driver's license, I registered to vote. I'm now a registered independent in the state of Oregon. I won't be eligible until after November of this year because I'm 18. I drove to this meeting today, and I couldn't have attended otherwise. I didn't have a way to get here without that. I got my permit and my driver's manual from the library. I read them and studied them until I could get my license. And this is not the first or last public meeting I have attended or will attend. But I'm not just here because I love my library and because it's given me so much. I'm here today because I can't vote. And even though I can't vote, I trust you. I trust you to make the community where I live a better place. I put my faith in you, and I can't speak for everyone in this room, but I think a great number of us put our faith and our trust in you to protect our community and to make it a safe and a better place. And that's why I'm here today. So I would urge the commissioners to please vote on this lease as is. I think it's a wonderful job, and it's a wonderful product of months of negotiation to really serve the community. So please take the trust that I offer to you to protect my community and do what is best to serve us. Thank you.
And to listen to her speak is inspiring. And I was very inspired by the comments by Jennifer Roberts and others. It was heartening. So I don't feel like the time was wasted, because I got to learn more about my community, and hopefully the commissioners listened and also learned more about the value of access to information, a place to gather, a neutral, safe space. Like, it was heartening. The emotion that people had, even me listening to those comments, like it kind of got me choked up. And so there's emotion in the room. And to see people clapping or applauding and then being so taken aback and booing after the meeting was shut down, it could be expected. Like, there's a way to manage that kind of public engagement that I would like to see our chair leader do. I feel like it could have been handled differently with just a little bit more grace, because the people in the room care so much, and that's where it was coming from. And hopefully today they can channel that same value for the library, that same emotional connection through the rally. I think that Friends of the Library is holding on the steps. And then through the comments again today, they'll be given another opportunity. I was disappointed and shocked, and I don't think it had to go that way.
It was pandemonium, and a lot of people were quite upset about that. He mentioned several times during the meeting that let's bring this back, let's be respectful, no outbreaks of noise, no applause, no talking and that kind of thing. He's very big on the decorum in the meetings. He likes to control the meetings. And I think at the end, where the confusion happened on what the vote was going to be.
And my calculations show that we have 139 days to the end of the year, and I'm not saying that we need to use any more than we would need to, but I think it's reasonable for us to continue this meeting until the next weekly business session. What are the board's thoughts?
Without objection.
We need a motion a motion to continue the meeting.
I'll make a motion to continue the meeting.
Okay, we have a motion. I'll second that motion.
Now, wait a second. I want to get this done today.
All right, we're going to put an end to the meeting right now.
His vote was to continue it to next week, and I think Barnett misunderstood that and felt that he was saying, let's continue it right now. When that confusion happened and the crowd broke out in a roar, basically, and he just reacted and closed the meeting because he had said so many times. Now, maybe he was triggered, just wanting to close the meeting anyway. He said he had another meeting to go to, but that was 20 minutes away. He could have had the vote, finished this, and gotten to his meeting in 20 minutes. It would have not been a problem. He's 2 minutes away from his office. Mm-hmm. I don't know what his real concern was.
I kind of expected it because for the 2 weeks prior, during public meeting, Commissioner Blech did say that he wanted to set the expectation that he wasn't going to vote. There wouldn't be a vote on August 20th. And I think Commissioner Barnett wanted there to be a vote. And so there was this disconnect between what the chair wanted and what the other commissioner wanted, and potentially the other two commissioners. Mm-hmm. We'll certainly find out today. I have reflected on what it would be like for Commissioner Blech to disagree in that scenario. And I think, again, there's a way to handle it. He could say, hey guys, I really disagree with some points on the lease. I want to go over those today, and I just need to get this said. Please give me an opportunity to speak. I know you have strong feelings, but this is a negotiation process, and we need to have this conversation. There's a way to manage the crowd, and he did not do that. All of this uncertainty, it's 8 months of uncertainty, and of course there's a high emotional state for the community. They are stakeholders in this library, and to expect them to just sort of, it almost reminds me of Catholic school, like sit and look straight forward and don't express an emotion. That's an unreasonable expectation.
Yeah, I mean, we're humans, like we care about these things. And I feel like when you're sort of in the seat of government, that's what you are managing, is that human reality.
So when I raised my hand to run for county commissioner, it's for the people, by the people, and that's the way I thought it was supposed to be run. And you're supposed to be listening to the people that tell you yays and nays. That's how our system works. So now that I'm up here, I get to listen to both sides, loud and clearly. And I was appointed in here to help smooth this lease agreement along. This is a landlord-tenant agreement, something pretty basic. But this came bigger because it's a community thing, and we listened. We listened for months, and I wish more people would show up and voice their opinions at things, because you got yays and you got nays. And I really appreciate both sides stepping up. As you can see, there's an overwhelming support for the library. And I can't deny that. I can't lie. I can't lie. There's an overwhelming support for a community library, whether I use it or not, whether you use it or not. I understand that. This is a community we all have to live with. And there's people that want the library to pay their fair share. I got that too, loud and clear. As a business owner, I understand that. So how do we make things fair? And going into these negotiations, we had our words, didn't we, Miss Lasky, and your attorney? And I disagreed with some things, and you guys disagreed with some things. I had my legal counsel in the room. I did some tough love in there. Why can't you pay more? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? Vice versa. So I did go into the ring, if you will, to try to find out the best outcome for all. And the best outcome for all right now, and if you were in my shoes, is a win-win. Because I can go to bed at night and feel we did a win-win. It's not going to please everybody 100% of the time. I get it. But the big result is we have something in our community, whether you use it or not, that's community-minded, and the overwhelming support for it has been there.
I've been interested in the character of Commissioner Barnett. He seems to have played an interesting role, and I think for some people, myself included, outside looking in, there's almost a sense of like a redemption arc going on with him, where it looks like he has become more sympathetic to the library cause over time. That's sort of what I feel like I picked up from him. You know, he came to the Bearfest sculpture unveiling. He seemed to want to be there, to have his picture taken with it and show kind of an association with the library. And then in that last meeting, he was very much kind of in your guys' corner in terms of like, let's do this. Let's have the vote right now. So I'm going to be talking to him later today to, hear about this from the man himself. But I know I've asked you this before, but sitting here now, what do you think of that idea? Do you feel like he has in any way kind of softened on his feelings about the library, or that there's been a process maybe from spending time with you guys and actually being here that maybe he's kind of learned a little bit and decided that there is some value to keeping this around and wanted to create that kind of compromise you were talking about?
Yeah, I'm cautious about assuming what he's thinking. I can only really judge by actions. I believe that he has taken a turn. His actions, even from the beginning of the negotiation to the end of the negotiation, facilitated compromise. And to embrace some kind of a compromise like that through a negotiation process, you kind of have to see it from the other person's point of view. That's sort of the moment, right? Mm-hmm. Or you're just sort of acquiescing to the terms that just to go forward. I mean, there's a lot of options there, but I did sense from Commissioner Barnett, and he has said to me many times that he does support the library. The action of the negotiation demonstrates that.
And I understand pay your fair share. Yes, I understand library has money. So do other entities that are here in the county. They have money. I get it. They're trying to build a new library, and I guess they're breaking ground in 2027. So I don't think they're going to be there permanently. But this is something that's very political. It's something the community has demonstrated in support that I've never seen. And when you have support like that, how can I look the other way? You guys, the people that did vote me in, not all 88,000, I get that. But I've got to look out for 88,000 people. Even the people that didn't vote for me know me now. And I've talked to them. I'll shake their hand. I'll listen. I'll go into places where it's uncomfortable, and I've been doing that for you to show you that I am tough. I can go in the lion's den. I can get beat up a little bit. I get beat up every week. Why do I do it? I hate it. Wore my button, be kind, because my staff said, you need to wear that button today. Somebody gave it to me, says, be kind. I'm trying to do that, you guys, but we got to show each other love and respect. And this library lease is showing respect. It's showing some love. It's showing community tie. It's showing that we're not going to pay. The taxpayers aren't going to pay no more. I want to get that clear. I said, look, library, if you get something for free, and if I got something for free, I'm responsible for it. That's the way business works. So we agreed, whether some of you like it or not, they are going to pay for the maintenance. They're going to pay for the upkeep. They're going to pay for the roof. I'm going to make them pay for the roof. It's a deal. And it's fair. And we went back and forth on that. It's fair.
One of the things that has marked a change in him might have to do with public pressure, and the community has come out in full force about this library. I give him credit for listening to the community, but I think public pressure has had a lot to do with that. When I'm giving out my kudos, I give them out to the community.
I know that this is uncomfortable for any of us to deal with, because there's people that aren't going to like our decision. There's people that are going to love our decision. But just understand that we're listening to be fair and balanced for the betterment of our community, period. And I think we need to make our decisions all the time that way, shouldn't we?
I'm not sure what to make of his path through this. It was on video where he said that he has a phone, he doesn't need to go to the library. I think that was with you. Yeah. My purpose then in going to talk to him, and I've talked to all of them individually about this, is that there's a lot more to the library, from the children's room to the K-9 reading buddies to the Teen Bad Artists Club. But I really want him to understand, and I think he does have a better understanding now, that the library is really a community hub. It's there for everybody, and there's so many offerings besides just books on the shelf.
Personally, I can't help but think that there's sort of a misunderstanding about the library of 2025 in the United States. It's out of 2020, so many social justice issues became prominent in our media and our public dialogue. And libraries sort of became, in some ways, one of the front lines of the culture wars. And because of that, I believe there's a lot of assumptions or myths about what libraries do. The more that we have a chance to come to a table and talk with people who maybe have some of those assumptions, the more we can shine a light or help bust those myths. That we are here to provide resources for all types of perspectives, and that we depend on individuals to discern for themselves what they want to read and what they don't want to read, what they want their children to read and not read. And that's the First Amendment. And that means that there are books and materials in the library that I personally disagree with, but we provide them so that people can have access to them and determine that for themselves. And it's not my library, it's our community's library. And so I don't know if through the process of talking with Commissioner Barnett or any of our commissioners, that those conversations, they do come up. Like, we've got something for everyone here. I've got biographies of Donald Trump. I've got biographies of Barack Obama. And we can go back to George Bush. We can go back to Bill Clinton. All of those are here. We've got the history of the United States from different points of view as we come up on our 250th anniversary. We have a lot of different points of view to share. And the discussion around what somebody thinks, how they think differently, that's the interesting part. And so the library may facilitate those types of discussions. I just hope that in that process, people start to realize that the real controversy is kind of in themselves, not inside the library's walls.
I'm a conservative, I'm a Republican, people know that. But you know what? I listen to everybody and I serve everybody. And the military's taught me that, to serve everybody. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what your background is. Treat me with respect, I'll treat you with respect, period. And that's what we need to start doing more. I'm sorry I'm going on and on about this, but it needs to be told that we need to be better to each other on this stuff. And let's get this behind us. I want a good resolution out of this. Just let you know, and I appreciate the people that voted me that aren't going to like whatever we decide today, or they may like it. Just want to know that let's have some love in this, and not everything is perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Barnett. I know that in the past there's been some discussion about my inability or perceived inability to serve at the capacity that I am here because I have no paper trail. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on LinkedIn. But let me tell you a little bit about myself here. I have negotiated close to 100 commercial lease agreements in the last 30 years, not for somebody else, not for a friend, not for a partner, for myself. Looking out for my best interests. And what we're doing here today is we've got a lease where I feel obligated to look out for not my best interests, but for the best interests of all Josephine County. I look at this lease here and I see, and I'm not going to enumerate them all, but I see 14 deficiencies where I feel like this lease agreement here is weaker, in fact, than the lease agreement we are under right now. And I just want to point that out. I'm not going to enumerate all, I'm not going to bore you all here with this, but I just want to point that out, that this is something that I have experience in, and I see some serious deficiencies here. I know there are a lot of people that are happy, a lot of people that are not happy, but I want all the people out there in Josephine County to know that I am not in agreement with this lease right here. It is not good for the citizens of Josephine County. This will have financial repercussions on our county, on our citizens, and there will be political ramifications of this lease on the people here up on the dais. And with that, I will now entertain a motion to approve the matter of authorizing the execution of the lease agreement here with the Josephine County Library.
So what do you think of the makeup of the Board of Commissioners right now? And do you think that you've got the numbers, you've got at least 2/3 of them to vote on this?
You never know until they vote. Like, actions speak louder than words. They truly do. And especially with politicians. Like, I like to wait until they do a thing before I say what they think or what they could think based on the action that they took. So I don't know. I don't know if we have the numbers or not. I think that there's a reasonable conclusion that a commissioner has negotiated a lease and that 2 of the commissioners would support that effort. Period. And it's a reasonable lease. So there's that component of just good business. And I think we have that in our favor, hoping that Barnett and Smith would vote for good business. I don't think Blech supports it. I think that his actions have demonstrated that. The makeup of the commissioners, like a division, I think only on this issue. I'm not seeing it across the board, and I don't know that it would be something I would generalize to other decisions. I think this is a unique decision, and it's kind of the issue of Barnett and Smith's administration, because their very first meeting, they voted to terminate the lease. And this has set a tone for their first 8 months in office. And I can imagine that they might want to put this to rest and move on to other business within the county. To be honest, it is really hard to understand why we are spending so much time talking about the public library lease in Josephine County. They have much more serious issues to manage and discuss and plan and strategize and build projects around. I would think this would be kind of a smaller issue, but it has become a threshold issue for Barnett and Smith's administration.
Their agenda, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, it is. So we'll see how they handle it today, if they are given an opportunity to vote, because I think the chair is in control of that. I was happy to see that yesterday I presented about the library in general, the usage of the library, to our Wednesday Rotary Club here in Grants Pass, and Commissioner Ron Smith attended. And I think he genuinely wanted to learn more about the library, and he was very respectful, and I was happy to see him there, and I was able to share some of our annual report statistics, and hopefully he learned, the 27,000 active library card holders that we have, sometimes one card representing a whole family, are his constituents. And the 800 plus, almost 900 people who registered for the summer reading program and read 550,000 minutes over summer are his constituents. And some of the stories that Rotarians told, they stood up at the end of the meeting and shared stories about how they hired somebody for their business who was able to put their resume together and their application together by using the library's computers, and get a picture of what's actually happening at the library and not this sort of make-believe culture war idea that we're imposing on the library. I mean, certainly there are books for LGBTQ community members here, and we will always have them. And there are books for people who are highly conservative and have more conservative ideas about that. It's here for everyone. So hopefully there's a continued value for what a library has to offer beyond just those topics, for access to the internet and early literacy story times and a place to gather for teen art clubs. There's so much going on here.
What is the expectation for today? I know you've also been talking to the commissioners about what the outcome of today's meeting might be. What do you know?
I don't know anything. I have not talked to them individually this week. I've purposely stayed away from them because I don't want my passion for this to influence it in a negative way. And you have to be very careful sometimes in how you come across to someone in a position of authority like that. So I haven't talked to them this week. I did talk to them right after the meeting, and they all assured me that you're going to get what you want. Now, I don't know if that means 3 yes votes or 2 yes votes, in which case it would still pass. So I'm really hoping that it concludes positively in a very quick fashion.
I've been hopeful before. I was talking with somebody before, and I said, I kind of feel like Charlie Brown and Lucy with the football, you know? So each time Charlie Brown goes for that football, you think, this is the time, and then bump, right back on your back. So as I said before, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm not planning anything as a result of this. Yeah,
fair enough.
We'll see what we see.
Okay, well, I'm really looking forward to this meeting. See what happens.
I am not looking forward to this meeting.
No, I said last week, on a selfish level, I was glad that the vote was postponed because I've been invested in this story. And I was like, if I missed that vote, I would have been heartbroken because I was at a boring conference and it would have just been like, come on. I've been following it for so long.
I hope you get that moment today.
I hope so too. Yeah.
See you after and I can say they did it.
Yeah.
That's my hope. But yeah, no, I'm not looking forward to it.
All right.
I make a motion to approve the lease as stated.
Okay, I'd like to make an amendment to that motion, and I would like to share with you here the red letter copies of the lease. Please pass that down. You have a copy? I would like to direct my colleagues here to section 15. This is the termination clause. I would like to make an amendment to the agreement that the termination clause as presented here be stricken and be replaced with the original termination clause that is in the current lease agreement. And I reiterate that the termination clause that is in the current lease agreement be put into this agreement here before us. That is my motion to make that amendment.
I'll second that motion with amendments.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, just to be clear, this is only to the amendment, and we'll come back to the lease agreement after that. So please call the roll.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnett?
Yes.
Commissioner Blech?
Yes.
Motion carried 3-0.
Okay, just to affirm, we have a motion. Could you restate your motion and also recognize the amendment that was just agreed to?
So I make a motion to approve the library lease as presented for the county real property located at 200 Northwest C Street, and that the library gets to continue operations at 200 Northwest C Street with the amendment.
Okay, just to confirm that we're all on the same page, your motion states to approve the lease with the amendment to strike the termination clause that is in the lease agreement as presented and replace it with the one that is currently in effect.
So I withdraw my motion. I don't like the termination clause in here. I don't agree with that.
Okay, we have the motion withdrawn. Somebody like to make another motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the lease as stated that was presented to the board.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No.
I have a little discussion. I kind of agree with the amendment on the termination in this new lease. The termination language is not strong enough. We have a situation in the county concerning our demic properties where we have public health and we have planning. If that property were to sell, we have to have a location to be able to put those. And so we have to leave our options open for us as a board to where we're going to put these county offices should that become necessary.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion, Commissioner Smith?
Well, I'd like to make a motion to bring that original language back in here, the termination language. I've looked at this and it's very weak. The termination clause in the new lease is very weak.
Okay, so if I
Protect the county.
if I understand you correct, you're making a motion to amend the agreement here before us to include the termination clause as is in the lease agreement currently and strike the one as presented in the red letter.
I want the termination language that was in the original lease, which is something that the library already agreed to one time, that we should put that back in there.
May I please be recognized?
Yes.
Thank you. The termination clause that's in the lease, the current lease has a termination for convenience clause, which is rare in lease agreements and not advisable. And it puts my board at risk of being evicted without cause or notification. For cause, and this is a short-term lease, this is a 5-year lease, and we will renegotiate the lease in year 5, beginning in June of that year with the sitting commissioners. That is a short term. And we need to have stable housing, stable place for library service in order to plan to be able to move. It is not a household. It is a business that requires stable, certain placement and location in a building that it has occupied for quite some time. We are collaborative. We understand that there are other concerns, but as a business, we need that certainty. That convenience clause is not advisable, and it was an important negotiating point for the Library District Board. And I am asking you to retain a normal termination for cause and termination for egregious acts. And we will take excellent care of that building, and then we can renegotiate it at year 4.5. That is a very short amount of time.
Thank you. Thank you. I will point out that this termination clause is not unusual. It is common, and in fact, it is in the current lease right now, the way the lease is. So with that, I understand the motion that was made by Commissioner Smith is, correct me if I'm wrong, is to have the termination clause in this new lease that is the same as in the current lease. Is that your motion to amend?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I will second that motion. Any discussion?
No?
Okay, hearing none. This is on the amendment.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnett?
No.
Commissioner Blech?
Yes.
Motion carried, 2-1.
Okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion to agree to this agreement with the amendment as was just agreed to.
I'll make a motion to approve the lease as amended.
I will second. Any discussion?
No?
Okay, hearing none, please call.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnett?
No.
Commissioner Blech?
Yes.
Motion carried, 2-1.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we will wait to hear back from the library, giving them the authorization to sign this agreement, and once it's signed, to bring it back to the board, and we will sign it. All right, thank you, everyone. Moving on to the agenda. We will now close this public hearing at 11:13. We'll give those wanting to leave an opportunity to do so quietly before we move on to the next agenda item.
What happened? What just happened?
Well, they changed the lease that we had negotiated with Commissioner Barnett, and they made it possible so the county could terminate the lease without notice, without cause, at any time. And that is a non-negotiable for the Library District Board. That's how we got here in the first place. We got here in the first place because a commissioner pushed forward termination of our lease, and then notice wasn't sent, which really was a result of the backlash from the community. So now they've put it back in the very uncertainty that the community was against in the last lease. So I don't personally believe that our district board will sign it, and that kind of takes us back to square one again. And it makes it clear that two of the commissioners want to move the library out of that building. They want the freedom to be able to move the library out of the building. And it is a short-term lease. It's a 5-year lease. It is not that long of an amount of time to give the library to be able to build a new building, and they're not supporting that. And we need a partner.
That amendment from Commissioner Blech felt very out of left field. Like when we were talking before, that did not seem like it was one of the options on the table today. Was that unexpected for you?
Yeah, it was unexpected for me because he hasn't voiced his concerns for the 3 months. And certainly for the month and a half that he's had access to the lease, and he waited until the final moment to be able to do that, to pressure a commissioner into voting for it in the moment.
So you think it was kind of pressure on Smith?
Yeah. Pressure on Smith.
I mean, like you said, it's back to square one, and I mean, I have no clue where this will go from here. Do you have any idea? I mean, that just happened, so I don't blame if you don't really know what to say.
I think we'll have to go back to the negotiation table, and the library is facing having to move out of that building because commissioners will not support stable service for the library.
So what do you think might happen? What are the options? And that was just like not one that anyone saw.
I think the library should just sign it. It's good. So we got one little item that the board disagreed with. I wish it would have came up earlier. Yeah, I mean, we were ready to make a decision last week, and unfortunately there were some time constraints from the chair, and then there was a lot of ramblings in the audience that it wasn't on tape, that you couldn't see from the video, but there were some things, and keeping a decorum in the room, that is up to the chair's discretion. He's in control of the meeting. So for whatever reason, it got delayed. So here we are today, Thursday, and the good news is the lease did get approved, but with an amendment. And I didn't agree with the amendment, but my colleagues did. And there was a termination clause that was in there. And I think the library, they just want some peace of mind that they can continue operations without interruption. And of course, a lease is a lease. If they did something wrong, I mean, you can give them an eviction notice. That's what you do if they're not treating the building good and stuff like that. So I see that part. But the termination agreement, my colleagues didn't like that for whatever reason, removed. And so they recommended that be put back in. It's been in there before. So I can't speak for that. I wish my colleagues would have brought that up earlier, and we could have revised that or we could have discussed that, but I never got any resistance from that. So therefore, how would I know to go back to the drawing table? I would have done that. If that was a condition and we brought it forward and that was a problem, we could have brought it up last week, could have brought it up at any meeting that, hey, you know what, after reviewing this, I think we should maybe amend this. And I think that would have been the best thing to do. That did not happen till today, and it did get voted that they did agree with the lease. Except with that one amendment. I'm hoping the library considers just accepting it as is and just move forward with operations. I mean, I'm excited for them to build their new library. They're going to do that here, break ground in 2027. And I think that they're going to be on board to building their own library. This is a landlord-tenant agreement, and I've always said that. It's business. I hate that it's gotten political, but it has. And we just want the community to feel good with having a service to them. But we didn't want to pay for it. What I mean is extra tax dollars. So we try to make it to where here's a building, you run it, you maintain it. With $0 from the general fund to help you out in other forms. We brokered that agreement. I think it's a fair win for Josephine County all the way around. And with this little amendment that got put in there today, I really hope the library just accepts it and move forward. I don't want to see any more resistance or jeopardize their lease. They have a lease. I hope they come around and sign that because I think they'll be fine in moving operations in the future.
I wonder if you can tell me more about the negotiations that you were sort of spearheading. How did that process work? What was the feeling in the room during those? What was the kind of back and forth you had with the folks over at the library? And then I guess you ultimately kind of just told me about what the compromise you reached was, but how did you come to a compromise in terms of having the library retain its $1 a year, but take on more of those maintenance and upkeep responsibilities?
And that was just going back and forth negotiations. When you're trying to broker a deal, hey, what do you like? What do I like? And you're trying to reach an agreement. It's called a deal. And if everybody feels good on both sides to give and take, it's not perfect for them. It's not perfect for us. But when you can come to the table and you can have good, productive conversations, which we did, they weren't explosive. They were all calm and peaceful. I had legal counsel there for the county, and they had legal counsel of their own. And we did disagree on a number of things. And then we started fine-tuning it. Are you okay with this? Are you okay with that? And that's how Business 101 works. You broker an agreement that's fair. You feel okay with it. You may not like it, but at least it's fair. Mm-hmm. And I think the brokerage deal that we came up with was fair. I volunteered to try to help smooth this along a little bit faster. So without that, we wouldn't be here today. They could have been dragged out. I don't know how long. But the library want peace of mind that they can stay in that building, and they can under the agreement that was proposed today. I just hope that they can really think about that and carry on and be okay with that slight amendment that was in there.
Mm-hmm. And then this has been interesting. There's a sense that you have maybe like softened or become more sympathetic to the purpose of the library, or the cause of the library. I think when you first got into your term here, there was uncertainty about you and what your attitude towards the library was. And as this story has evolved, I think we've seen more from you that indicates that you are favorable towards the library in some sense. You like their cause. We saw you at the Bear Fest unveiling. Mm-hmm. You know, you've sort of been there with them, and of course through that negotiation process, you've spent time with the people from the library. So I'm curious what you think of that idea. Do you feel that your opinion about the library has sort of tweaked over time? Do you think that you've become more sympathetic to it through your exposure to it? What are your thoughts on that idea about your own character?
Well, it's funny you mention that because nobody's ever asked me. I never had a problem with the library. So I don't know where that came from. I've been going to the library since I was a kid. I'm a library holder. I get taxes. I pay for the library. So that big stigma of, for whatever reason, somebody made up that I had an association with somebody else or something, they were misled. Mm-hmm. All somebody had to ask me from day one was, hey, what do you think? I was out there when the protesters happened. The first week I was in office, guess who was in there? Me. Hey, what's going on? Hey, this isn't an eviction. What are you guys thinking? And there never was an eviction. So I want to make that clear for the record. I think it went south really quick with not knowing the future of the library. And I was like, whoa. Nobody's evicting the library. It wasn't in my cards. So I think that if this is a community service where people have talked to me openly, I am a supporter of them doing their own thing, just like I am a supporter of other organizations doing their thing. If they bring good and something to the community, why would we not support it. You don't have to if you don't want to, but the library is something that I think the citizens have spoken very clearly that they want here. They're self-run. All this is a building that we have, and they've been occupying it. So why can't we just extend that a little bit longer? That's all.
And so in your negotiation, you were okay with the idea of having, a 5-year fixed lease where there wouldn't be an option for like I think they called it the convenience clause, the ability to terminate. That amendment was introduced kind of out of left field by Commissioner Blech. You've kind of already said it a little bit, but I'm just curious if you can say more about how you feel about how that went. Are you surprised by the maneuver to introduce an amendment, and what do you think the motivation to do that was?
That threw me from left field because, like I said, if this was an issue, why didn't it come up earlier? I mean, the whole point was for me to gather a agreement, present it to the board. The board has had it. If there was an issue, should have came up last week. Could have came up somewhere, some way. And I think that because there was an amendment today that the chair didn't like, okay, I understand that. But that was the one item. Other items were totally fine, and those were approved by the board. So for them to carry on, they can carry on. I just know that amendment, if they don't like that one clause in there, they still have a lease, and I hope that they do the right thing and just continue on. You got a supporter on this side that I'm not going to let them get evicted if I can help it. I think that would be unfair and that wouldn't be right. But like I said, we do, like one of the other commissioners said, we do have other buildings that are for sale, and we do have to house those departments somewhere, and that building has come up in discussions. So I just don't know the future, but if you have something that's yours and you need it in an emergency, well, I think that we should be able to flex in some capacity to help each other out, accommodate that request. Just like if you rented a house and you really needed to move into it and you were homeless, what would you do? You would want to be able to give them notice to move into your house. And that clause was a provision that sometimes is in certain leases to do that.
I think it certainly makes sense from that perspective. I did talk to Kate right after the meeting, and her chief concern right now is that the library board won't approve this lease. They won't want to sign it because that fixed 5-year concept was a pretty big part of the compromise for them. That in some ways, when I talked to them this morning, that was the thing that I think they saw as almost being the most important part, is that they would have that guarantee of a space to exist in for those 5 years while they work on building the other library building, which you've spoken to as well. So it does seem that there's a chance that they're not going to go for this lease. What goes on in your mind when you hear that?
Well, I think it's unfair for Kate to say that because she's not the board. She spoke for the board, so that was unfair. I can't speak for my board. So I hope Kate and goes to the board and says, hey, this is what we got. This is what they approved it with this one amendment. And if they don't accept it, I really feel like this could go south more. And I don't want it to go south more because that shows that there's friction, more friction. I don't want no more friction. Let's just carry on. It's a privilege to get a building for free, the way I look at it. If somebody gave me a building for free and says, hey, someday I may need it back, yeah, it's not mine. But I'm hoping that can happen. If this amendment was in there before, I don't understand why, putting it back in is a deal killer. And that's the part where we got to show working together. So I think that's an unfair statement to say that the board said no, because the board hasn't met yet.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We're going to have to see what the library board decides. Yeah. That's going to have to go to their desk before we actually know anything.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts about this issue?
No. I just hope that everybody can come together and we got this far. We have a deal. I just hope that the library board can go ahead and solidify this deal, and let's just move operations as normal. I feel like that's the best outcome at this juncture that we got here today. So let's carry on and let the library resume.
And just to be clear, your hope at this point is that the library can sign this lease, go forward, work on their project to build the new location, and move into that smoothly and easily in the next 5-ish years?
Absolutely. We got everything else we wanted. They got what they wanted. There's just one item that we disagreed on. Remember, we were just trying to broker this deal. Comes to the board, and the board had one issue. Well, okay, it got taken out. They just want to put it back in. I say that the library board should do this to not disrupt any more interruptions and give peace of mind for those people that are members, including myself. If they want the library to continue on, I think this is a great deal to move forward on. That's your hope.
Okay. Commissioner Barnett, this is a fascinating story to follow. Thank you for the conversation.
It's definitely a story.
That's for sure.
Turn into vibration, which the brain translates into what we call sound. This is a new dimension in sound. This is